This is the theme to the podcast. It's inspired by an old TV theme, one of the best I'd ever seen. So here it is, the theme to the podcast. What does Chris think?
About a favorite TV show. Not an easy question, but one I obviously will love to answer. This episode, I'm going to talk about some of my favorite TV shows. I'm not going to try to rank them or pick a favorite, because choosing one would be like choosing a favorite child. I love each one of them for their own individual personalities. Now, a few notes on my criteria for this list. Number 1, the show must have had a series finale. It must have been planned finale, meaning a show like Firefly, no matter how much I love it, can't be on the list. Number 2, if the show is still ongoing and has not had a presumed finale episode, the next season must have been confirmed or in production. I have a little note on this one later. Number 3, I have to be willing to watch every episode without skipping. So a show like Star Trek Deep Space Nine, which is great, the first couple seasons, there's a lot of episodes that I want to skip. Without further ado or preamble, here we are. On January 20th, 2008, Vince Gilligan introduced us to Breaking Bad. I'm not one to rush to awards, but I will say that this show won 16 Primetime Emmys. Over the 5 seasons and 62 episodes, we watch as Walter White goes from a high school teacher to a ruthless drug kingpin, willing to kill anyone that gets in his way. Cranston's transformation throughout the series is so believable, so convincing, that at the end of the penultimate episode, I was so disgusted with him, I battled with myself as to whether or not I wanted to actually watch the final episode. I couldn't see a way to redeem the character or have him pay the owed dues in one episode. However, 55 minutes later, the show was cemented as one of my top 10 of all time. From drug kingpins to mobsters. Back in January of 1999, David Chase introduced us to Tony Soprano. Again with the awards, 21 Emmys over 86 episodes is a pretty solid showing. The Sopranos, in a way, is the opposite to Breaking Bad. We are introduced to a hardened mobster who is having panic attacks due to his battle between being the father and husband that he wants to be and the mobster that he needs to be for both his families. I know I'll never be a gangster in New York, and there are more than a few movies that deal with the same themes and situations as this show. But the fact that we get to slow down a minute and see true personal family drama, like the crazy sister who seems to only show up to wreak havoc and then slip away to live another day, or the teenage son dropping out of football just because. It's easy to identify with the Soprano family, even though we will never get to be a mafioso. Organized crime to the near-perfect organization of AI. I can't help but think that the concept of this next show was born from the writer's room of The Dark Knight. In the final act of that movie, Bruce gives Lucius a way to track the Joker. Jonathan Nolan takes the same concept and puts it in a 2011 New York City in the show Person of Interest. Now, awards don't matter. This one has no Emmys, but don't let that deter you. This show is a near-perfect response to the tragedy of 9/11, acting as a cautionary tale about government overreach. The heroes use a backdoor into a very sophisticated computer software to help people who are either in trouble or about to cause trouble. The computer feeds the government relevant information to stop acts of terrorism, but then deletes all the irrelevant numbers. Our team steps in, steals those irrelevant numbers, and attempts to solve the problems. It acts like a procedural, a number a week situation. But the show seemed to open up deeper and more complex almost every 9 to 10 episodes. and for the entire run of the series. Person of Interest shows a government where power is more important than the people. Next, we have the exact opposite. In September of 1999, Aaron Sorkin gave us The West Wing. The show won 26 Emmys over its 7 seasons. It follows the staff of the West Wing, obviously, as they attempt to guide their white knight president. The complex dialogue and subject matters performed at a dizzying pace makes second viewing almost necessary to catch all the layered jokes, inside jokes, and references to other episodes and information. The stories range from a group wanting to change the way we teach the map on the block of cheese day to the president's daughter being kidnapped. And it's intense. It is a hopeful view of what the government could be if it was actually run by people who were both intelligent and caring. The banter between the main characters starts to feel like siblings picking at each other, with the president, Jed Bartlett, acting as the doting father. So let's move from the found family to 4 different families and the ties that bind them together. What seems like a random collection of people celebrating their 31st birthday ends up being a raw look into family and how it's made of not only the big decisions and life moments, but also those little moments. This Is Us, it's only 6 seasons long, but won 4 Emmys. This Is Us is basically a show that follows 4 different people in different stages of life. We have newlyweds growing their family, a married couple with 2 kids, and the trials of juggling their own dreams and those of their family, a woman struggling to love herself enough to find love, and a free-spirited guy who has no trouble getting loved, but has trouble actually being seen. How these 4 families connect and the stories so rawly woven between them will make you appreciate time with your family and potentially inspire you to find the love you deserve. Now, small shift here in genres, from show on its surface about family to a sci-fi show that hides its family in the edges of unknown science. From pet cows and amber bombs, in September of 2008, Alex Kurtzman, Robert Orci, and J.J. Abrams introduced us to the Fringe division. The show Fringe brings us into the world hinted at by The X-Files, a show so nearly on this list. But this time, it embraces the weird and the unexplainable, almost from the start. As the story progresses, we learn of a secret government organization, pan-dimensional beings, and a secret that has the potential to tear reality apart, all culminating in a guest appearance by science fiction royalty. It's a tale of love and family and weird science with more than a couple crazy doctors. Speaking of doctors, back in 2001, Bill Lawrence gave us a fever dream of a hospital in Sacred Heart, the setting of the TV show Scrubs. I have to admit, the show really seemed annoying and disjointed when I would catch random episodes on late night TV. It wasn't until I randomly caught a run of the first 3 episodes that I learned all the annoying character traits, the disjointed scenes, the jumping around, the fantastical musical breaks are all crafted to make the heavy stories and plot lines of working in a hospital seem both less heavy and more real. The medical side of the things is very loose. If that's what you're looking for, there's another show on the list you need to catch. What this show does do is excel at showing the human side of things through some dark humor and some real personal connections. This show is solid for its run. After getting canceled by NBC, ABC decided to try to revive the show and bring new faces, but it failed. It has really recently been revived at Disney. It's still too early to tell if that will be added to this list, but as of right now, this list is only for the NBC run. Now, the segue from Scrubs to the next show is a stretch. It's kind of like an American football coach moving to London to be a soccer manager. Ted Lasso. Look, I'll be honest. When I first heard the premise, I expected a one-note joke that would wear thin by the second episode. especially after watching the ESPN commercials with Coach Lasso. It sounded like a bad 90s comedy movie, but I was wrong. The show is unapologetically kind without being stupid, and that's a hard needle to thread. It has won 13 Emmys so far, and it's only had 3 short seasons. And while I said awards aren't an end-all be-all, in this case, and in the flooded market of streaming TV, they got it right. Ted uses optimism like a tactical advantage, but the show doesn't shy away from the fact that being the happy guy often comes with a massive personal bill that eventually does come due. It's about leadership and the radical idea that being a decent human being is a viable life strategy. Plus, Roy Kent is basically my inner monologue given a foul-mouthed, hairy exterior. Now, next, we have another medical show set in a hospital, and I know what you're thinking. Another medical show? Chris, really? But here's the thing. The Pit is a real-time look at a 15-hour shift in Pittsburgh Trauma Center. It's gritty, it's unfunded, and it feels like you're in the middle of the room dodging gurneys, feeling the fluorescent lights burn your retinas. It won 5 Emmys in its first season alone, including Outstanding Drama. It reunites ER brain trust of John Wells and Noah Wyle, but it feels more modern and, frankly, more exhausted, in a way that feels honest to the world we live in now. It's a show about people who are extraordinarily good at their jobs, while their personal lives are essentially a pile of dirty scrubs. Season 3 is already confirmed, so it stays on the list, and it's a beast of a show. Speaking of beasts, and yes, I said that last line just to drop a lead into the next show, The Bear, created by Christopher Storer. It's a very honest take on the burdens of being both excellent at something and emotionally scarred from a life of being so. If you ever worked in a kitchen or a high-stakes environment where everything is breaking and everyone is yelling, "Behind!" this show might give you actual palpitations. It is frantic, it is stressful, it's also one of the most perceptive depictions of grief and found family I have ever seen. Carmy is a world-class chef who returns to Chicago to run his late brother's sandwich shop. Watching him try to apply fine dining logic to a chaotic beef stand is like watching someone try to perform heart surgery in a mosh pit. It's pulled in 10 Emmys so far. So there's my top 10. Looking back at the list, I realize it's kind of a mixed bag, which is kind of what the show is. You've got mobsters having panic attacks, scientists tearing reality apart, and a guy trying to fix a soccer team with cookies and a mustache. But the common thread, at least for me, is the authenticity. I have a very low tolerance for shows that try to sell me a version of humanity that feels like it was written by a marketing committee. I want the mess. I want to see people in a pile of damp matches that is a person's real life. And I want to see how they keep moving forward anyway. That's why these shows stick. They have something to say about how we navigate the world. Whether it's Tony Soprano staring at ducks in his pool or Carmy staring at a ticket machine that won't stop screaming. It's all just a reflection of the same struggle we're all in. Now, I'm sure some of you are already drafting a 3-page manifesto about why The Wire or Mad Men should have been on here. That's fair, and to be honest, on a different day, they might have been. But these 10 are stories that I'm willing to sit through, start to finish, every single time. I've given you my truth. Now, I'm curious. If you had to apply the no-skipping rule to your own watch history, what's the one show, what are these shows that would survive the cut? What is a story that you trust enough to stay until the very last frame? But for now, I'm Chris, and this is what I thought.